Hello everyone. It's Websy Wonky here. I was gonna make a video. You like my lights? I really kind of improved it a little bit, adding more lights to the little room me and my fiance are in. Um, First, I want to show um, this year. I don't know if you can see that. That is Kuan Yin. She is a goddess of compassion and mercy. I was doing a little bit different. Get up and show that, I think. I was doing a little bit different research. Or not research. um, I was doing a little bit different this year when it comes to, kind of my goals, my intentions of things. And, because, me, I'm into astrology. I like to look up astrology things the next year and everything. And so I looked up the Chinese astrology. Sorry for my little cold. Um, I don't know. I feel like my whole face is going through a breakout and stuff, so don't mind my cold sore. A lot of changes and stuff. But anyways, I mean, there's more to come with that, but that's actually for my fiance for his good luck for Chinese astrology because he's born the year of the monkey. Now me, I'm born the year of the horse. One of the things it said was to get one of these. Bamboo for luck. I know a lot of people think it's probably like cliche or that's the term to use. Um, but it's really neat about this. I don't know if you can see. Kuan Yin, when I looked her up, it's really neat to look up things about her because it really talks about how she's pretty much there to help people when they're needing help and struggling and stuff. And a lot of people don't understand when it comes to these different deities or these different archetypes and stuff that actually, every one of the different god and goddess and stuff, or the different religions, or the different um, like archetypes of different religions, they all associate with the same lesson, meaning they all point to one thing, and that's love. Um, I came across a video, and I did it in my Libra video. So this is not knocking any Libras. I love Libras, but I've been kind of stewing on the thought of talking about. And the thing is, I'm still trying to get into reading or writing my book, which I've mentioned. Is going to go more into what my ideas that I'm thinking of, but I'm trying to have the right words to say it, but pause. Trying to get my thoughts out because I've been stewing on this a little bit. So, one of the thoughts that have been rolling around my head, and like I said, I kind of said it in the Libras video, is this whole concept of what we think religion is. And there's many different facets of religion. There's many dimensions of religion itself. But like what I was talking about in the Libra video, I mean, you could look at the Libra video if you want, but basically, I just feel like a lot of people don't really get the facts when it comes to religion, when it comes to where is it based off of, where are things connected, and how everything is connected. You can't have the light without the dark. You can't have the dark without the light. I think when it comes to religion, I feel like a lot of people based it off of what they've been told, which is normal. And about a week ago, um, I watched this video about the scientist, and he was talking about like consciousness, and he was talking about how every thought is creating something. And like the whole thought of religion, you know, is more like a man-made idea if you really think about it, because I feel like yes, there is something that creates all of us. There is an essence of force behind energy that created all of us. But I think a lot of people, what they misconstrue is they base those philosophies by what they've been told is true. And they don't really go on a soul searching for their own truth. They base every little grain of information that they hear to be true and facts is from other sources that they grew in. And I've been doing a lot of soul searching. I've been doing a lot of investigation when it comes to religion and when it comes to my past and, you know, my family and my history and my lineage. And I keep running against these two things. Is when it comes to religion, a lot of it is man-made. A lot of it is an organization to influence people to do what they're taught to do. And you never question anything. You never question your belief system. You never question what your parents taught you. And like for me, I never felt like I wanted to disrespect my parents. I never felt like I wanted to disrespect society or people in general. But I've come to understand more and more. When we live based off of religion and we based off of what our parents has taught us, and it's nothing wrong that I think our parents has taught us. All of them has taught us things to help us grow as a person and to be, you know, part of our soul journey. And I feel like the misconception is when we fully believe a system and everything when it comes to philosophy, when it comes to the actual facts of things, is what it is true. Kind of like what I said in a video, in Libra's video, is, you know, I'm saying for those who believe in Santa Claus, those who believe in Santa Claus will tell their children, you know, there's a Santa Claus, as if there's a man who's watching them when they're sleeping, who knows when they're crying, who knows when they're bad and good. But it's not actual true. There's a lot of things about there was a man who did want to help children and give them gifts and, you know, help them out and stuff. But I feel like a lot of that is based off of religion. Is that when it comes to the philosophy of Santa Claus, that's almost a concept of religion, I feel like, where we tell our kids this is what is true. But we as parents aren't really doing the soul searching. And you know, I'm not a parent. I feel like I've been a parent many times in my life. I've experienced a lot of different things. And I don't got all the pieces, puzzles together. You know, I'm still on the soul journey figuring out things and seeing how far I've really came from. You know, but like I'm saying, when we literally go on the facts of what we've been taught is true, I feel like we only know that's truth because we've been told. But I feel like when we actually step out of what we're seeing to be true and actually get out of that and actually follow our own path and our own destiny, then we understand all this was simply a tool to help me see the truth. The tool that there's a difference when it comes to religion versus spirituality. And like for me, I've always been intrigued by spirituality, even as a child, and I didn't even know it. But like we would go to, Chinese restaurants. And one of the things, and I didn't even know it affected me until later in life, is, the whole thing with fortune cookies, seeing your fortune and seeing how, and I seen a paper. One time we went to a Chinese restaurant with family. It was a gathering or something. And it was showing what year you were born, and that's the year that you were born. And I found it fascinating as a child. I was about 8 or 9 when I seen it, that I was born the year of the horse, but I never really understood what exactly that meant. Me born the year of the horse. Cool, I'm a horse. I don't know, in Chinese astrology. But later on, as I grew into getting away from the church, getting away from organization, and actually on my own path and on my own journey, and came into paganism and stuff, and more spirituality in general, um, I've noticed that even as a child, I was intrigued by things. I was always curious as a child. That's one thing I love, is that I was always curious for information, new and exciting things. But like I was saying, there's a difference when it comes to religion, that a lot of it is an organization, man-made, to get people stuck from their true potential. And I'm not saying going to church is making you feel stuck or in some way stunting your growth. There is a way when you go to church you can grow from it, but you hear the same things over and over, and you're not really being true to yourself and like honesty when it comes to living in the system of what you've been taught. There's nothing that's really helping your growth. And now I'm not saying, like I said, you can go to church, hear the same sermons over and over. But once you step into spirituality, things open so many doors to the universe and how things work. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start writing the book, is to help people understand that there's other things outside of church and religion, that if you have a little bit open mind and curiosity, it will blow your mind away and you actually accept things for what they really are, instead of just being programmed to believe this is all there is. And like, there was a point in my life I felt like church was humdrum, boring, and I wasn't really getting anything. And it just, near the end, it's been about 4 or 5 years. I'll try to close with this. It's been about 4 or 5 years since I've been in a church. And I feel like comparison of those two is, one, God will never be something that's out of my equation. And I feel like a lot of people misconstrue. A lot of people, when they get out of church, they've backslidden. They've ran from God. They're doing their own things when they should be in God's word, God's house, around God's people. I get that. I'm not trying to criticize these people. I'm just saying and expressing that when you've gotten into spirituality this deep that I have since I've gone into paganism, it really opens your mind to not just zero in and have a tunnel vision just to what you know, but what is outside of that is a whole new ball game and a whole world that is not even discovered by some people, because they're so focused on simply just the rock. They're just focused on, this is my zone, this is my livelihood, when there's so much when it comes to faith, when it comes to religion, when it comes to literally seeing things in a different perspective than what you've been taught. It changes you. And like, I can honestly say, by all the chaotic things I've been through in life, and some would probably like, yeah, right, Hannah, you're joking. But it's like it really has opened my heart more. It's opened my mind. It's opened my more of spirituality than I ever had. And I feel like it's changed me inside and out. And that's the real change, not by living by someone's standards of spirituality or faith, but living in your own true essence, knowing that, just because you left the church and the organizations does not mean God has left you in some way, or in some way that you're searching for him or he's lost you. He's always there. And to know the essence of God is within you and within all of us says a lot. To know that we have God within you. We are pure essence of God. So it's like there's really no contradiction with that. There's no battling and striving with people. Like I said in many past videos, a lot of the problems, and I told my friend this recently, it made me think of this, is the only thing that is the problem in society is hate. The only thing that's really keeping us stuck and not feeling like we're moving in life is fear. Fear and love are the two key components to the universe. I know there's a lot of things with the universe, but the driving forces. And a lot of people don't understand, like when it comes to understanding paganism, when it comes to understanding actual spirituality versus religion, that there's only love and hate. There's only fear and love. And it was really hard. It was really hard getting out of a church. It was really hard getting out of the system. But once you flush all that down the toilet, it in some way grows on you to the fact that you've had to go through those experiences. Like a lot of people thought in my past that, I cut a lot of people out of my life because I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go next in my life. And yes, there's a lot of regrets with that, of pushing people out of my life and cutting people out of my life, but I feel like it's helped me in a tremendous way. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that may still not understand where I'm coming from. But if they take a moment to actually understand me, like in a few years' time when I actually write the book, that they may better understand, where I'm coming from. And that's another reason why I want to write the book, for people that are curious about, why I chose to go into spirituality and not stick with a church and not stick with my standards or my moral code. But I feel like the true happiness that comes is when you take that leap of faith, when you actually step out of what you know to be true and find what is true to you. And a lot of people can get all twisted up when it comes to that, because they're like, God's the one who's your final authority. But God's living within you, correct? So in some way you have spirit, you have source with you. Now I think a lot of people, what they misconstrue is they're literally living, and I'm not saying everyone's got it perfect. What I'm saying, they're living based off of fear tactics. They don't know the truth of something to be true because they're living off of the fear of what they don't know. That's the problem. When you get stuck in the unknown of whatever you're trying to search out, and you get stuck in the unknown of, that's different, that looks fearful, I don't want to mess with it. But what is it hurting to understand more of what you don't know? like, let's say you're Christian. You want to be able to help people who are pagan, maybe get out of the lifestyle that they're choosing. But you can't even relate to them. You can't even understand where they're coming from. And that's the one thing I love about paganism. It's helped me understand that your path is your path, whatever you choose. And we're not bringing harm to you. We're letting you have the free will to choose whatever you choose in your path. And that's one thing that Christianity never really taught me, because it's all structure about this is what the Bible says, this is what God says, but no one really takes the time to understand, well, what is, or even look into spirituality, things that they may question, things of different religion, like Buddhism is a great way to start on spirituality, and understand one another through astrology, you know? And I mentioned this before, is that when it comes to astronomy, when it comes to astrology, it's a better way to understand one another. It has nothing to do with evil spirits or any of that. What it has to do, like with astronomy, is if we didn't have, like, it's funny, if we didn't have astronomers, then how would have the so-called wise men found the light, found the stars, if they didn't do any research of astronomy? And that's the thing, that's probably the oldest thing in the universe, is the stars, is the universe itself. I'm not trying to be conniving or conflict with people in any way. I'm just stating what I've learned and what I wanted to share and what's on my heart. So, I mean, if you get offended, that's on you. But what I'm expressing today is the fact that when you've took the idea, or not the idea, what am I saying? When you really look into spirituality, like, for example, like I said, Buddhism, you start understanding things are connected. When you look at, or if you ever heard of it, you know, I've mentioned a few times, is the Christ consciousness. And a lot of people don't know this when they like look into what is the Christ consciousness. A lot of people make Jesus out to be this man who was a prophet, who taught to people in the city, which I believe there was a man named Jesus. But what they didn't understand that he was teaching not to worship him as a person, but to find the things out for themselves. Like everything you do or everything I do, you can do yourself. All the miracles I can do, you can do. And what he was talking about a lot of times that a lot of people don't understand or never really thought, and I've had to come to see this. What he was talking about is Christ lives in you, which is the Christ consciousness. The universe lives inside of you. The spirit, the source of everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, lives in you. So it's a duality thing. There's no right and there's no wrong. What you have to do and understand is find your own path and go for it. So a lot of people don't realize this, and I'm close. I've done it long enough. But what I'm trying to get across here, my last point, is the fact that when people come against paganisms or people of other, when you get politics involved and stuff, is they always, and you'll notice it, and I've noticed it with Christianity. I'm not saying Christianity does it all the time. There are really good people who don't want that. But what I've noticed about Christianity is, why is it so much fear-based and separation? And like when you've heard the verse, if you've heard it, be of the world, but not in the world. You know, what is that really talking about? For me, I feel like it's more about a lot of these earthly things that we see, the physical reality, that what you see is really not there. The problems we see in life are really not there. It's an illusion. The only thing that's real is love. And I think that's pretty much what it says. You know, be a part of this world, but don't get caught up in the illusion of everything. Don't get caught up in the greed of things. Don't get caught up in the materialistic world, and realize that everything you see is an illusion. But the only thing that's keeping us all together in unity, in bond with Source and Spirit, is love. Love is the only thing that's going to help us. And a lot of what people preach about is separation, and they don't realize it, which I don't blame them. When you separate belief systems from other belief systems, how can you unify a country when you're separating them? When you're saying, this is the true religion, this is the true Bible, which has been edited and deleted. Not all of it is in there. It's something I've looked into. That when the Bible was made, Constantine rewrote it. Because what the Catholic Church was doing was trying to get a structure, organization made for people to live in a certain particular way that the Roman Catholics wanted them to live. And to be in society as this is what it says. This is how you live. This is the rules. This is the laws. But what they never did is had it, this is your path. You could choose whatever you want to live. This is your path. And like I was saying, a lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of people talk about love as if, you know, God is love. Well, if God is love, if the essence of God is love, why are we trying to separate people from different belief systems? Like, okay, I believe different than you. So does that make me condemned for hell for believing something different? What if I believe in love? You know what I mean? How is that the same thing? And I think people have different ideas of love, which they grow up believing that this is love and this is how it is, and this is how religion is, and this is what the Bible says. But true essence of love does not separate. It's continual. It's bringing a balance between the yin and yang. It's bringing a balance between the dark and light. It's going into the darkness and coming one with it. The light and the dark. If you haven't seen, and I I highly recommend, if you have not seen the new Star Wars, go with the intent, I'm going to learn something new, and it will blow your socks off. I'm telling you. That in order for, and this is a spoiler alert, and then I'll try to close with this. Kylo Ren and Rey, the light and dark, met together. They became one. They loved each other. And I thought it was really cool in the movie how in the end, in order for there to be balance in the Force, and I heard someone else say this, and it makes total sense. In order for there to be balance, the light and dark had to be one. And then a split happened where Kylo Ren dies. Because if you know anything about the masculine and feminine side, He had to give up his will so the light can shine in the darkness. That's what I feel like. And, that blew my mind because a lot of movies you see the woman dying, which a lot of people who are feminists, they believe that, the feminine's dying and everything. But if you think about it, a man is going to do whatever he can to save the woman, even if he has to die and sacrifice himself. So when you look at from a masculine and divine feminine, look it up if you have to, if to really understand spirituality. The divine masculine, like the thing is, it's not necessarily gender based, it's the energy. So basically, in the movie, Ray does heal him. But the only way that Ray or Kylo Ren heals is when he sees things for what they are. And when he understands that he needs Ray to complete the balance of the force in the universe. And I feel like in some way, that's why it ended like that, is it's showing a picture of true love is when the dark and the light come together and bring balance. Because that's the thing is, in order for there to ever be balance, the light and the dark are one. And I think a lot of people, if they watch that movie from an understanding of spirituality, they understand that you need the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Like basically the energy it gives off. Like you could be a woman in your divine masculine when you're bringing order to something, when you're taking action. Now you can be a man in your divine feminine when you're using creativity, when you're expressing yourself through art and music, when you're creating something. So basically, what I'm saying is light, and a lot of people always associate, well, I was going to say light, but dark. They always associate dark as an entity of ego and negativity, which in some forms it could be. But what I'm saying is darkness is not in separation with light.